Welcome to the David Dean Show, a weekly look at West Georgia Wolves football, brought to you by Systems and Methods. SMI, a proud supporter of West Georgia Wolves football. Here's Candler on the snap. Amani Williams! Touchdown! Touchdown, Amani Williams on a shovel pass. Willie Candler just got hoisted up in the air. David Dean and Sam Gregg just pulled a rabbit out of their hat. And hello again, everybody. Welcome to the David Dean Show with the head coach of the Wolves, David Dean. Mitch Gray here, looking back at the Gulf South Conference opener, West Georgia with a victory over Florida Tech on Saturday, and a look ahead at the first conference road trip of the year as we go to Rome to take on Shorter this weekend. Coach, first of all, congratulations on the win. And as I'm watching it Saturday and calling the game, it hit me. This is a Gulf South Conference football game.
Well, it really was. That was two good football teams going at each other, physical football teams. And a lot of good athletes, a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball out there on the field. It was a fun game to watch. It's a little bit too much fun, I think, as a coach sometimes. It gets a little too intense, but it's a fun one to be a part of. And, it was one of those is punch and counter punch. And fortunately for us, we had a few more punches left at the end.
As we go through the first half of the ball game, we had to shift gears a little bit. We lost a weapon, a major weapon. And it seemed like as it wore on, our guys figured out that, hey, we can still win this game. This is a team game.
Well, you hate to lose a player at the caliber of Devontae Jackson in a game, but losing him to the targeting call was something that our guys had to overcome, and I think that they see that now that the next guy's going to step up. And Christian Royalston stepped in and did an outstanding job in that football game, ran the ball very well, had some really good blitz pickup situations that he stepped up and took on a linebacker. You always talk about when the guy in front of you goes down, the next guy's got to step up, and you always got to be ready. And that's the way Christian practices. He practices like he's a starter, and it showed in that game on Saturday. But I think more than anything else, it proved to our guys that when somebody goes down, you can still win the football game as long as everybody prepares each week like they're going to be a starter.
Coach, also it seemed like as the game wore on, our lines of scrimmage, both sides, seemed to take more and more control of the football game as it wore on.
Well, I think they really did, especially our defensive line. We began to put more and more pressure on the quarterback. We were putting pressure on him early in the game, and he was slipping away and making some yardage and stepping up and making some throws. But in the late third quarter and throughout the fourth quarter, we were really collapsing the pocket on him, and he had nowhere to go, and he was having to scramble out, and our speed was running him down. But we got a lot of hits on him in the fourth quarter and had a lot of sacks, and one of them that I'm thinking of was Chad Price when he came in there and made that sack that one time. That was a huge play for us because that put them in a third and long situation.
14-7 as the first half ended the ball game. It seemed like we were just, I won't say trying to catch our breath a little bit, but I'm just glad halftime arrived when it did.
Well, we made a lot of mistakes from an offensive standpoint. We had 4 drop balls that we really had huge plays on, and we just dropped the football. And that's uncharacteristic of us. We've got playmakers out there. I think we were pressing a little bit too much. And then when Vaught went out, everybody said, I've got to step my game up, and tried to put too much pressure. And we finally got them to relax a little bit. And take nothing away from Florida Tech. They're an outstanding defense. Their defensive front is very, very good. They've got athletes all across the board. So it wasn't a situation where we were just playing terrible. Florida Tech's a good football team, and they forced us to do some things that we weren't able to do during the game.
Gee, deja vu. The opponent is kicking off to us. We've got a diminutive number 8 standing back and around the goal line, and well, lightning in a bottle again.
It was. I was on the headset, and I said, wouldn't it be great if we got the same type result that we had last week? And lo and behold, he makes the truth out of me. He takes that thing and goes all the way. And if you look, he never got touched. I mean, it was a great return. He made a great move on a couple of guys. Like I said, there's 2 guys that we can't block on that kickoff return every time, and he's got to make those guys miss, and he did. but nobody came close to touching him, and that's a great job by the other 10 guys out there. They all had excellent blocks and created that hole. And Coach Storman just does a great job of scheming up our kickoff return and putting our guys in positions where they can make plays. And hats off to our players. They make that scheme work.
You know, interesting, I'll do a little sidebar. This is a good coaching staff that seems to be meshing together more and more. It's really a new staff, and it's one that has seemed to come together, and the players are all on board.
Well, I think so. Sam Gregg, who's our offensive coordinator and is coaching our offensive line this year, was with us last year. Trey Queso, who was another guy that's coaching our offensive line and our tight ends, he was with us last year. Everybody else is pretty much new. It's new guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and our players have taken those guys in. They're taking the coaching very well, and anytime that you have a whole new staff, you never know what you're going to do going into the season. But I think we're coming together. I think our best is yet to come. Hopefully it is. And I tell you this all the time, Mitch, and you know this. It's not how good you're playing in September. It's how good you're playing in November and December. And I can see us getting a little bit better each week, and that's what we got to continue to do. And our coaches are going to try to bring the best out of them every single week.
One thing this football team has on the field, Coach, is poise. I think it showed Saturday when Florida Tech, after the kick return, they go back ahead. We didn't blink. We came back down. We got a field goal, but we kind of retook control of the ball game a little bit.
Well, we did. We had an outstanding drive and stalled out right around midfield, and Christian Ramirez made a great punt down to the 2-yard line, and our defense bowed their neck and held them. And at that time, it was 21-14. They punted to us. We got a great return by Malik Henry. He returned it down to about the 12-yard line, and unfortunately, the guy who's calling the plays there, myself, made a terrible call on third down and did not put us in the best situation. We did a sprint out in the short side of the field, which I thought we could hit quick, and they made a better play than us, and we had to settle for a field goal. And Omar Cervantes came in and hit that field goal and made it 21-17. But again, just like the Albany, you never saw a panic in our guys. Our guys kept believing in themselves, believing in each other, encouraging each other, and eventually we said somehow or another we're going to make a play that's going to end up being the difference in the game, and that's when our defensive line really started to stand up. I think Montrell Pardue had one of the most outstanding games I've seen him play. A lot of unsung plays that he made in that game, turning things back into teammates, making big hits. Just an outstanding effort by everybody on the team to really push us through the late third and all through the fourth quarter.
You mentioned Malik Henry. Wasn't it great to have him back on the field as a punt returner and with a couple of touchdown catches?
Well, it was. He had the early drop in the game. I think he would have made a big play on that if he doesn't drop that. But he made the long catch there for the first touchdown. He made a great read on our second touchdown of settling into a zone and finding an open area, and Willie was able to hit him there in the end zone. He's a dynamic player for us. He does a great job in our kick returns. We didn't put him back on kickoff returns this week because he did have the knee problem, but we did use him for a little bit of our punts. And you can see the first time he got in there, he had about a 10, 12-yard return, broke 2 tackles right off the bat, and then he made the big return that returned it down to the 12 to set up that field goal.
Well, it all worked out to be an outstanding ball game. You mentioned Montrell Pardue. First time this year, the Gulf South Conference has honored not one but 2 of our players as Player of the Week. Montrell on defense, Willie on offense, Coach.
Oh, well, that's good. I haven't heard that, but Montrell deserved it. And like I said, he made a lot of plays in that game that were unsung plays, the things that you from a stands you look at and say, I didn't realize he did that in what he did in the scheme of things of how we did. But he's an emotional leader. He makes big hits for us and gets our guys juiced. And really proud to see the way that he played. But again, Willie, for the third straight week, was very, very solid in the things he did. He made some nice throwaways, and that's hard to do as a quarterback sometimes because you like to have those completions and you want to force things. He made good decisions and threw the ball away when we didn't have people open. Had 4 drops in the game, which would have really increased his numbers. But he didn't get frustrated. He kept plugging. He kept playing the way that we wanted to play, and he made some outstanding throws. But more importantly, they put the ball in his hands. They forced him to rush the football. And you could see late in the game, right before our last touchdown, when it was 24-21, he had about a 10 or 12-yard run and ran over, knocked a defender from Florida Tech backwards, and then drove his legs for a couple of more yards. So that's what he brought to the table for us in that game, and both of those guys are well deserving of those awards.
Got to ask you about one more play before we kind of move on toward this coming week, and that's the shovel pass to Amani Williams. And the thing that obviously sometime this summer on the board and then sometime in August during preseason, this thing got put in, and you, Coach Greg, whomever has pulled the trigger on this, a stroke of genius.
Well, I appreciate that. We did. We kind of we put that up there based on our personnel, and we have a special package of guys that we bring in for that. And our offensive line did a great job of selling it. Christian Royalson did a great job of selling the zone play right there. But two guys on the backside, Taylor Turner, who mashed everything down, and Tommy Lester, who goes up and takes care of the corner and pushed him 5 or 6 yards back into the end zone. They gave Amani the run. That play happens so fast, it's hard to see what's going on. And we felt like at that time that was a good time to run it. We had just come off of a timeout, so they didn't see our personnel that was going to change in there. And I just thought that was the best time to run it. And you roll the dice, and it worked. And I think it gave our guys a big lift on there, because that's something that you practice for a long time, and then you finally get to run it, and it works, and it fires everybody up.
And it let us, I won't say exhale, but at least you could take a half a blink knowing you had a 2-score lead when they got the ball back.
Well, the only thing is we left them about a minute and a half on the clock, and as dangerous as they were offensively, sometimes you think, especially after you miss the extra point, which is something we've got to not have happen, and only have a 9-point lead, you're always scared. And they hit the big pass down in there, but again, Ashton Jackson, we put great pressure on the quarterback. He lays one up, and Ashton Jackson makes a great interception that seals the game. So, it was good to see. We made them use a lot of time, so if they did, in fact, score, they weren't going to have very much time to try to throw the ball into the end zone, but it's still kind of scary.
The record now, 4 wins, no losses, 1 win, no loss in the conference. You mentioned earlier that we seem to be getting a little better every Saturday.
Well, I hope we are, and I hope we continue to do that. I think one thing our guys do is they listen to our coaches, they correct mistakes, they go out during the week and try to correct those mistakes and not do them again, and that's a sign of a good football team. Our deal right now is we can't be complacent. We can't be happy with 4-0. We've got to go to 5-0, and then hopefully we go to 6-0 and keep winning in conference. And all these outside distractions of where are you in the conference, and who do you play next, and what else is happening around the country, and where are you moving up in the polls. We can't worry about that. We can only worry about what we do, how we throw, how we block, how we tackle, how we catch. Those are the things that are going to make a difference in the game every week, and that's what we got to concentrate on. And right now our guys are doing that, and so hopefully we'll continue that.
Well, this Saturday, a conference opponent, a road ball game, and a state opponent as well coming up when we go to Barron Stadium. 1 o'clock kickoff Saturday with Shorter.
Well, it is. We're going to treat it kind of like a home game. We're not going to leave until Saturday morning. We play at 1 o'clock, so we'll get out of here roughly about 8 o'clock and drive up somewhere in Rome and have our pregame meal somewhere around the stadium. So it's going to be a quick morning for us, but I want our guys to sleep in our beds and keep it as close to a home game as we possibly can. So it'll be very similar to our trip that we took to Albany State. We had about an hour and a half drive on game day because we stayed in Columbus, and this will be about the same. We'll have about an hour and a half drive up to Rome.
We come out of the Florida Tech game health-wise okay?
Not too bad. I think Damanye Williams, who is one of our guards, hurt his ankle. Not very serious, but it is a high ankle sprain that's going to keep him out for a little bit. We do have some bumps and bruises that we'll have to monitor throughout the week. But hopefully I think all of those guys are going to be back. I know that Damanye was the only one that was taken out of the game from an injury. Of course, we had Devontae who went out with the targeting foul, but he will be able to play because that targeting foul was in the first half. So he had to sit out the second half, so he will be able to play. So as it looks right now, barring no problems, knocking on wood during the week, Damanye Williams may be the only one that we may not have.
It's the West Georgia Wolves and the Shorter Hawks at Venerable Barron Stadium. A 1 o'clock kickoff there on the banks of the Oostenaula River. And we've had a pretty fun time the last couple of times, but no guarantees this time. We got to block, tackle, take care of the ball, and try to go to 2-0 in the Gulf South Conference. 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. We'd love to see you there. If not, follow us and all the links for the broadcast and more will be at uwgsports.com. Want to thank SMI Systems and Method for bringing the program to you today. Coach David Dean alongside Mitch Gray saying thanks for joining us on the David Dean Show, and go Wolves.